Okay, so here's what happened. Because a lot of, as we get this question a lot, you know, like, well, what made you jump ship to PA? And we didn't actually jump ship. I'll get to the comparison between the two later, but what happened was ENN got canceled. Just because it wasn't working for The Escapist, it wasn't really clicking with their audience as much as they'd like to. Like, some people liked it, but not enough people liked it, if that makes sense, for what they were paying us for it, and it got canceled. Then we were sad, but we weren't like upset because it was a business decision, and we're like, well, that makes sense, that sucks, but whatever. And then we were talking to Robert, actually, at PAX East last year, because we've been talking about wanting to do something for PATV. And we said, we really want to get on that because we have more time now because one of our other shows got canceled. And he was like, really, which one? And we said, well, it was the Escapist News Network. And he went, really? Because I really liked that show. Would you be interested in doing something similar for us? And we went, yes.
Fuck yes.
And so there was actually a period of, I know it gets hazy because ENN went to bi-weekly in like November and then it got canceled in February and there was no like announcement made because you don't like, because the Escapists didn't want to be like, hey everybody, we canceled this show, you know? So, but there was actually like 3 or 4 months where we weren't producing that show at all. And so it was like stopped, time period, started over here. It wasn't like, you know what we should do? We should go over there. And so that's what happened. In terms of differences, like we can or cannot make jokes, no. I mean, I guess we feel a little bit more free to swear on PATV because Penny Arcade has no problem swearing. But we never, any sort of censoring that we did for ENN was self-censoring, and there was never any problems with like, you can't make fun of that game or you have to make fun of this game. They never exercised any editorial control over our jokes, so.
Yeah, as far as ENN versus Checkpoint goes, we made one really subtle, but I think really important editorial change to how we write the stories. When we did ENN, you remember that we did these ridiculous kind of feature stories where we get, you know, our friends or local actors to play like spokespersons for Microsoft or Sony or, you know, a fake researcher or something like that. Sort of, you know, if you're Canadian in the audience, you might have seen a show called This Hour Is 22 Minutes, where they sort of, they do this like fake feature and they've got like fake experts on there and, you know, they do kind of silly stuff. And we thought that was really great, but that just tended, because in the format it tended to confuse people and they weren't sure when we stopped telling jokes and when we started making jokes, if you know what I mean, like making up the subject.
Which I'm sure seems sort of like, well, how could you not know? But
in a 22-minute show, the division is much clearer because they would sort of devote the last third of the show to it and they would do it after a commercial break, but when you do it as like a 5-minute sketch comedy thing, it's very abrupt. So when we shifted to doing Checkpoint, we only said we are going to absolutely report 100% true news, and we're only going to make jokes at the expense of things that have actually happened. We're not going to put words in anybody's mouth, which I actually think makes the show stronger because we have to really like laser focus on how stupid some of the things we report on are.
And it's not like we get a lack of content because there's stupid news. Right? It just means like whereas before we'd be, you know, like this thing is a thing that happened, and then this is a thing that I'm claiming is actual news, but is complete fabrication. Now it's like, well, that thing's news, so I guess that means that this other thing, like this is how we're interpreting it, and it's much more clear, and I think it actually is probably better.
Yeah, I think Checkpoint is actually better than ENN, objectively speaking, but I don't know, it's up to you guys.
Yeah. I hope that answers your question.
Also, I'm hopeful still that someday the Unskippable crew will release a riff tracks. Maybe of The Wizard or Twilight.
Actually, we were thinking, I mean, it would take forever to do one. But we thought that if we were going to do, because you can do that with riff tracks, you can do the iRiffs, and they do user-submitted ones. If we did one, we'd probably start as like a transitionary thing with Resident Evil Degeneration, which was the full-length animated Resident Evil movie that looks like just an hour-and-a-half in-game cutscene from RE2 and is bad. And I like Resident Evil, but
I seem to recall before Unskippable was a thing, there was a day when you and Jeff and I,
Brad?
Was it Brad? I think maybe Brad got together in our apartment and watched a movie with the intent of riffing on it and got through it once and I was like, oh my god, that was bad. We don't want to watch this 6 more times.
Oh, it was. No, yeah, you're right. It was you, me, and Jeff. It was Jeff. And it was, oh God, it was like Die Another Day or something.
Oh yeah, it was. I think it was dying of the day. We were like, because we were gonna like actually do the riff track and submit it to riff tracks at the time.
And it turns out that that is actually a massive pain in the ass
Yeah.
to do a full-length movie. Because our process for Unskippable, not that you asked, but our process for Unskippable is like we'll watch first we'll watch the scene to make sure that it would work, meaning it has to be sort of a certain length and it needs to be a certain. It has to take itself seriously to an extent, or else. It doesn't work. Like if it's too goofy, then like we were considering doing Red Alert 3 with, as we said, in actually the pilot for ENN featuring Tim Curry portraying a large Russian ham steak. But he's so clearly like just devouring the scenery in that. Like he's just like, yes, comrade, you see, I'm Tim Curry. And it's sort of like, we can't make fun of that because they're so intentionally being stupid about it. Conversely, 50 Cent Blood on the Sand is insane, but they play it dead. It's like, yes, 50 Cent performs with a bandolier of grenades. So we'll watch it once to make sure it works. Then we'll watch it again, just recording whatever comes off the top of our head, which we just call like running down a scratch track, just like firing out ideas. And then we'll go back and take the ideas of those that worked and record them better, and then come up with other ideas for the areas that don't have anything in them. And so once we've done an episode, we've probably watched it like 6 or 7 times in quick succession, and that has the side effect of being that when we submit the final episode, it sucks to us. We don't think it's funny anymore. And I watched an interview actually with Mike Nelson from Riff Tracks and Mystery Science Theater, who said the same thing happens to them when they're doing an episode of MST3K, that when they're done, it is so bad to them, and they're just like, oh, this isn't funny, what are we doing? Oh God, this is so bad. And you just have to have faith in yourself that it was funny, that you found it funny the first time, and just know that, all right, I trust past me, and I'm sure that'll be funny. And then when we go back and watch them like 5 months later, we're like, oh, that was funny, all right, good. So that's, to do that for a full movie, that's why I have no problem being like, $2 for a movie commentary track? I'd gladly, here Mike, have it, go for it. So, thank you.
I don't play Magic, but if there was anything that would suck me into that world, it's the videos you've done.
Thank you.
And I've also really enjoyed the D&D videos. So I'm really curious about how your relationship with WotC started, and is it more a matter of you pitching ideas to them or the other way around?
James?
Actually, our relationship's great, and they've asked us recently to challenge the Extra Credits crew to a draft. So we'll be recording that for some future season. Take that one! So I actually have a bunch of experience with WotC. Every experience that I've had with them is fantastic, so I'd be shocked if you hear anything, but oh man, those kids are a blast. I have the coolest statues in their office ever. Yeah.
They're all terrible people. No, so we did the Magic video, the It's Magic episode of Commodore Hustle, and that got quite big, like bigger than we planned. Like, our mandate has always been we do things that we find funny, and if other people find them funny, then that's awesome. But we don't want to do things because we think it's like, oh, it's a good idea to do this because people will like it. We want to do stuff that we like. And we just got back into Magic, and we were super up on Magic, and so we were like, let's make an episode about us playing Magic. And so we did, and it got really, really big. And then just through a series of just fantastic things, like Wizards found it, and they linked it, and they liked it, and they spread it around. And then when Paul and I came to PAX East last year, we happened to get sat on the plane beside Mike Gills, who at that time was the head of digital something at Wizards. He was in charge of Magic Online and Duels of the Planeswalkers, and I think he's in a similar position now, but slightly different. And he was like, oh, hey, you guys, hey, awesome. You should come talk to this other guy. And he put us in touch with Mike Robles, who is the community manager for Magic, who's an awesome guy. He's one of the two. Mike and John run the Wizards_Magic Twitter account, among a bunch of other things.
It wasn't me that time.
Yeah, I just whacked it, yeah. And so it was just sort of like putting in touch with other people, and they really liked it. And then last year PAX East, we sat down with one of the other guys on the brand team, and we were like, hey, we'd like to do more stuff. Like we would, like if you're interested in more stuff like this, we'd like to do things. And we talked about sort of like magic-related sketches or little sort of one-off, like just little tiny snippety, sort of like almost like the crap shots, like little like 1-minute things. And what we came back to was like more of what we did in the episode of Commodore Hustle. So I mean, I guess we did sort of pitch them on it. We were like, hey, we'd like to do more. But they were super gunned about it, and I think they'd been considering something like that themselves. And yeah, it was super great. So yeah, they have been a blast to work with. You're right. Cool, thanks.
And actually, I was joking, but the more that I think about it, if you guys ever want to do a drop, either for charity or just for extras on the DVD, we would love to. Although if it's for extras, I'll wager you guys a topic on extra credits against a topic on Unskippable.
I was like, what is?
I was so confused.
I thought it was Matt.
I didn't even look at that. I was like, fuck Matt, shut up.
Seems like something I would do. I thought I was doing it.
James, I remembered that game I couldn't remember at the extra credit panel. The JRPG. It's Lunar Silver Star Story Complete. Is the 4th one.
Lunar's a pretty great series.
Yes. So now the complete picture of the RPGs I like, the JRPGs, are there. Okay. Also, so I just wanted to have you have that picture, and you know. Also, I want to thank you for introducing me to these people. Because the only reason I'm actually technically aware of them is because Kathleen, is it? Was a guest artist for your JRPG versus Western RPG one, and I thought that was really cool.
By the way, thank you again. It was fantastic.
You are seriously here because I did the drawings on that episode.
Seriously here because of that. I think this is one episode of Checkpoint now. So thank you, James. Thank you, Kathleen. Then I guess I'll thank you guys later when I know more about you. I do have one additional question, actually. Kathleen, do you do art in general, or
James.
Define art.
I do a little bit of art. I've always played around with drawing and stuff like that, but when I was very young, I really wanted to be a cartoonist because I read Peanuts, and I was like, oh, I want to draw comics. And then when I was 9, I discovered a comic strip called Bloom County, which if you haven't read, if you don't know what I'm talking about, please go and read it. It's absolutely excellent. It's very funny. And then I was like, oh, cartoons can be funny too? Sign me up. Because I love Peanuts, but it's not like, lol. And I always wanted to do funny stuff. And this is not supposed to be sad, but eventually I realized I'm not actually that good of an artist. But what I'm really good at is telling jokes. So I've always sort of played around with art, and I'm not like untalented, but I only do it sort of as a side thing. But I have like a little a Tumblr I update very sporadically now because I have a very full-time stressful job, but it's called Things My Cat Hates. And I occasionally pop up doing guest art. I did a guest comic for my friend Lily Scaldefairy, who does a comic called Name Game on the Escapist, which is really funny, and please check it out. And so yeah, I'm a little bit of an artist.
More Korea!
I think that's anything. Except James, would the last one have changed your recommendations at all? The last title.
Because last time he came in and he asked me about what RPGs I'd recommend for him.
Yeah, just so I could throw some, so I could give him some money, like you said. Like you guys
At the
said.
time, it was Radiant Historia and The World Ends With You.
Correct.
But does Lunar change that equation?
That's the question. Now you have Paper Mario 1,000 Year Door, the original Final Fantasy, and crap, I forgot the middle one. Oh, wait, no, Chrono Trigger, and Lunar Silver Star Sword.
So, I actually think the audience is correct. I think if you haven't played Persona 4, you absolutely should play Persona 4.
I have that one. I'm actually 20% into it right now. So cool. Okay, thank you audience, thank you James. Thank you.
Just one sec. Our hotel is across the road. Yeah. Is he back? Yeah, he's been back. Oh, what?
Yeah.
Didn't see it.
Right, he walked right in front of you.
Yeah. I have selective vision, apparently.
Thank you.
Yes.
And I gotta run, but thank you guys for having me up here. This was a blast.
It was at MagFest, their panel. They were, Paul and I arrived like 2 minutes late, and they'd been talking to the audience about just various things, and one of them brought up Desert Bus, and they were talking about just how much fun they had being a part of it. And then we walked in, and so everyone else was seated, and we were the only people standing in the back, and they were like, oh, yeah, there they are. You guys come up here. We were sort of like, oh, great. So we walked up to the front, and we're like, hey, you know, and people were clapping, and they were like, no, up here. Come up here, because they didn't know what to talk about. So they were like, we'll just keep filling this in. They brought up like the guy from Screw Attack, and they just padded out their panel. It's funny. Yeah, next question.
Hi.
Hi.
That's not a question.
Next.
Also,
No pressure.
aliens.
Yeah. Aliens. Do you believe in aliens?
James?
Oh. Wait, I'm James. Sorry, what was the question?
He's hit the wall.
I did not hear the question.
We broke them. I believe the question was, do you believe in aliens?
Is that actually the question?
Yeah. Okay. I believe that it is a mathematical near certainty that aliens exist, but I do not they have yet believed or visited Earth.
All right, there you go.
Yeah.
I have no idea why I came up here.